My name is Daryle Lamont Jenkins. I am the founder and executive director of One People's Project, based in Philadelphia. And this is the latest in a series of rallies that Patriot Prayer and the Proud Boys have been putting on here in the city. It's been something that's been going on really since April of last year, but they really started ratcheting it up in recent months. Seems to be like a month of rally here in Portland. And they've just been escalating the violence, culminating in what happened on June 30th. And June 30th was like the last straw for a lot of people, so that's why you heard a lot of people saying that they were going to come out and face them down. And this is the first time I've been in Portland, to give you an idea of how crazy it is.
So sort of this group is more, it's like Joey Gibson's Patriot Prayer group and the Proud Boys. We were just interviewing some people over there who was saying that that like they weren't racist, they weren't white supremacists, and that this was just like a libertarian free speech event that has nothing to do with like racism or white supremacy or fascism. So what would you say to sort of what some of the people over here have said, that that they're not racist or fascist, it's just free speech, and the left is like just attacking them because of their free speech?
That's a standard right-wing dodge. I mean, we know them for who they are. I mean, the fact of the matter is, when they started doing these events, started doing these rallies, they were associating themselves with a white supremacist group called Identity Europa. And we all know what happened when one of those attendees did. About a couple of weeks later, Jeremy Christian ended up killing 2 people on the train when he was trying to harass 2 Muslim women. And we see they're trying to play that game where we have people of color in our ranks and all that, but people of color can be fascist too. It's obvious what they're about. If you're down with the Proud Boys, for example, we already know what Gavin McInnes has been about for years. I mean, he's been attacking Muslims. As a matter of fact, so it's Patriot Prayer. They've been attacking black people. They definitely have been attacking women, as if women have no right to even exist in some regards. So that's why people are out. I mean, they can deny all they want. Everybody's opposing him for something. It's not because of what the media is telling us, because truth be told, the media isn't really talking about this. We are. We're the ones that are looking at them. We're the ones that see them for who they are. And Portland has been dealing with this kind of nonsense for 30 years now. I mean, November will be the 30th anniversary of the death of Mulugeta Seraw, and since then there's just been this back and forth between Nazis and those that oppose them. And it just culminates into this. This is the latest in that kind of nonsense. So,
yeah, what's your take on what's going on here with, like, they had their little protected area, but they're not going in it. Some people are across the street. What's your read of, like, the territory here?
Well, see, the problem for them is that they've been trying to really push the idea of that they're going to beat up people, they're going to shoot people and all this. But they've been doing it for a couple of weeks now. And the city simply responded by saying, you will not have any firearms or weapons in the park. Now, it was supposed to be in this huge area, and they were originally in this huge area where they're not standing now, but they're being checked as they go into that area, so they're all standing outside. Now, the police have gotten wise to what they're trying to pull, and they're saying, no, there will be no weapons in the park or whatever. Well, whatever the police is going to do, they go do them. Antifa's going to just be prepared for whatever they do, regardless of whatever the cops do.
What do you think about Alex Jones sort of getting involved in, like, endorsing this and telling people to come? He said he was going to come himself, but then he didn't come. But, like, so what do you think the sort of, like, there's been sort of this fusion with InfoWars and the Proud Boys and Patriot Prayer? What's your take on that?
Well, Alex Jones has showed his ass before, but really we're looking dead into it. And it's like he wants to be a part of this nonsense. He shows himself for who he is. And he can sit there and rant and rave. I mean, I know he says he's playing a character. We have to recognize the fact that that character these folks subscribe to, these folks believe in, and whatever Alex Jones is about, they're about, but only they're in the street. Alex Jones is in the studio, nice and comfy. They want to dance, and we got to be mindful of that.
Can you talk for a second? Do you know anything about, like, Harold Covington and sort of like the history of, like, successionist shit in the Northwest?
Well,
can you give a sort of a Cliff Notes version on that? Because there's, like, a lot of, like, really deep white supremacist context here in the Northwest.
See, that's another thing too, because Harold Covington, may rest in peace. He had
he died really recently. This white supremacist leader.
Yes, he passed away last week. Harold Covington is was a long time neo-Nazi. I mean, he was down with the Skokie marchers back in the day. He was like Frank Collins' right-hand man for a very long time. And then when Frank Collins unceremoniously left the Nazi group that they were a part of, he took over for a little while. Covington also later says he moved to Rhodesia, or now Zimbabwe, claimed to have been in the Rhodesian army, but somewhere along the line he came back, hooked up with Glenn Miller, and started doing work with him. Glenn Miller, Frazier Glenn Miller, I should say, eventually is sitting on death row right now because he decided to go kill a number of people in Kansas City in the Jewish nursing home, I believe. Now, Harold Covington, eventually he came here to the Pacific Northwest, and he wanted to try to make the Pacific Northwest his a whites-only homeland. He thought that he would be able to build that, and it's basically been his thing for a good 20 years. So, but by the time he started putting all of this together, he was seen as a laughing stock even among his own people. I mean, there was only so much that you can say. If there was, I'm sorry, I'm being thrown off here. But if you're, but after a while, he just told all these lies and wild stories that even his own side couldn't believe in, so they basically just rejected him. So him dying is not all that big. I mean, he's gone and everybody else moves on.
Okay, so just real quick before we wrap the interview up, for people who don't know what Joey Gibson's deal is, like, can you just tell us who Joey Gibson is?
Well, right quick, because I'm also still learning a lot about him. Joey Gibson is trying to pass himself, is the founder of Patriot Prayer, one of the groups that is here today. And the other group being the Proud Boys, of course. But Joey Gibson, Joey Gibson has been trying to more or less frame all of this. He's originally from Vancouver, Wisconsin. Matter of fact, Patriot Prayer is based in Vancouver, Wisconsin.
Police Bureau. Southwest NATO is open to vehicular traffic. You must immediately
that speaker's really loud.
And proceed to the sidewalk. If you remain in the roadway, you may be subject to arrest for